All right, welcome to our Simple Healthy Life podcast, where our goal is to have real, insightful conversations on topics that we find interesting.
Mhm.
And if you find these topics interesting, please be sure to like, subscribe, or better yet, let us know. Reach out, and we're pretty accessible. Just tell us what you're interested in and things that you might have liked about it, especially today. Today is a little different for us. I'm super excited to talk about this today.
Mm.
It's something that's near and dear to my heart. And we'll start off by letting you guys all know that we are opening our labs. We are opening our new business in Lakeville, Massachusetts, 155 Millennium Circle. And our labs is, I hate to say the word culmination because it sounds like we're at the end, and I feel like we're just at the beginning. It is a hot and cold therapy spa where you can come and you can do what our tagline is, which is recover with intention. At our labs, what you'll find is an infrared sauna for your sauna therapy and a cold tub brought to you by Cold Tub brand. It's kind of cool. I get to plug that brand. They're
Yeah.
awesome, amazing to work with. They've been doing it a long time, and I will get into how amazing their cold tub is. And then a second one that is actually a hot tub. Um, so for those of you that are out there and you're like, I'm not sure about the cold, we have some heat options for you. And then we've included in our labs, we've included a intentional rinse. So it's a rain shower that you can rinse with cold or hot water. For those of you that just want to learn about the process, there will be a meditation area or a rest and relaxation area for everybody that wants to spend a little extra time there. And we're going to start to host events and workshops right away. The reason I say it's this culmination, it's because we are bringing together the things that my wife and I love, which is meditation, breath work, recovery, and hot and cold therapy. So it'll be hopefully the only place in the area for a while as this starts to grow. And we're excited. We're super excited. So that's what I got so far. But what we wanted to talk about and share with people is why we do this,
Mm.
right? Why would we use hot and cold therapy as a way to recover? So for those of you out there that are thinking, I know about this, this is that thing that those crazy people do when they jump in the ice bath, you're not wrong. But there's some additional things that we can talk about, and we're going to talk about them right now. So I've said a lot to start, but Ryan, if you don't mind telling everybody a little bit about your experience with hot and cold, and kind of we'll get into the benefits next.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's so interesting because I do hear that a lot. Like, oh, you're crazy. You're crazy for doing that, or yeah, only you've got to be tapped to be able to do that. But if there's anything I know about health, especially mental health, is that doing challenging things is inherently good for us. And this is both like on the mental front, whatever happens in the brain circuitry to allow that to happen, but also on the physical front. And we're gonna talk a lot about that. And so excited to dive into it. But um, I've been I've had intermittent periods of time where I've done the ice baths, and every time I've always enjoyed it. Maybe not during, but certainly after. And you and I have been going up to this I don't even know where it is, up to this Pembroke. We're going up to Pembroke, and I've been doing afternoon sessions where we're doing this kind of contrast therapy where we're going into the sauna for like 20 minutes, and then we're going and doing you step right outside the door, and there's the lake is there, and it's so cool because it's such a beautiful scene. But going right into the 35, 36 degree water right after, and kind of alternating. And, it's not exactly super fun during the process, although I'd argue that it gets better and better and better. There's an inherent challenge there, but man, it feels so good. It really feels good. And it actually lasts a couple of days. And, there is something to be said about how it elicits a dopamine response and how it elicits all these other like physiologic changes. But at the end of the day, like challenging yourself and doing things that are uncomfortable really does feel nice. And so I actually shared with MJ today. I'm like, when the memberships R Labs open, I'm just gonna sign up.
Since I'm plugging our labs today, it will be the only time where you can sign up for an unlimited package. We have it. Our intention is to keep this small and community based. One of the things we really wanted to do and bring to the community was a place for everybody, but we really want to attract first responders. So there'll be some first responder discounts out there. What we found is this is such a powerful tool for people that experience the level of stress that our first responders typically end up responding to, that we want to make sure that we leave enough open times for our first responders. Man, I can't tell you how excited I am to see the people, the community, how they respond to this. So let's get into it. Well, you know what? We'll just do it this way.
Yeah.
The Scandinavian population, Finnish, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, right? They have been doing this for hundreds of years, generationally have been doing this. So we have enough data now to prove we'll start at the highest level, longevity, living longer. People that use the sauna regularly 4 to 7 times a week have 50% lower all-cause mortality.
Wow.
Boom, mic drop. I should say that at the end again. Think about it. When you engage in the activity of saunaing, I should learn whether or not that's a real word. God, can you look that up for us and find out if that saunaing is a real word? Please. When you engage in this activity, you are 50% less likely to die.
Crazy. Compared to someone who doesn't, right?
Actually, here's the crazy stat. This is so popular in Scandinavia that they couldn't find a large enough sample size of people that don't sauna at all. So they actually had to compare it to people that only sauna once a week.
Incredible.
Isn't that incredible? So this is such a popular activity. And let's dive into why it's popular, right? Before the stats came out, before they did these things, people were noticing, wow, I feel better after I sauna. And I mean, heck, and grandma's still alive, and grandpa's still alive, right? Something to it.
Right.
So from a physical perspective, and there's so many benefits to actually engaging in heating your body up and then subsequently cooling it down. We'll give you one. Actually, I'm all over the place because I have a ton of information I want to share with everybody. But what I'd like to do first is engage or explain on kind of the simplest level why I believe this is valuable. One of the things that we're not taught in health class is when you sprain your ankle, you want to ice it, okay? What you're doing by adding ice to your ankle is essentially telling the body that this area of my body is cold and please send blood. All right. And now all of us should understand something. The blood is the way your body heals itself. So we all know we cut ourselves, eventually we heal. We all know that short of some really impactful stuff, we will heal over time. What's happening is the blood is sending nutrients and oxygen all around the body at all points in time. What it's also doing is taking cellular waste away from the areas that needs to come out of. So when you put cold on an area of your body, you're going to call for new blood, new oxygen, new nutrients. And when you take that cold away, that blood is going to circulate back throughout the rest of the body. And you're going to do that repeatedly in order to bring out what's called inflammation, or bring down what's called inflammation, which is essentially why you have the pain feeling. Okay? Does everybody understand that? Do you get that? Make sense?
Yep.
So what's happening on a cellular level is those blood vessels are constricting. Now, we know this is true. If you splash cold water on your face, you'll get that constricted feeling in your face. If you sit in cold water, you'll get that constricted feeling all over right away. Everything closes down, shuts down. Picture that like wringing out a face cloth. When we heat back up and everything comes back to normal, so to speak, all of that stuff that was constricted out then gets whisked away, taken away, and put into your system to be released from the body, whether that's through sweat or your digestive tract. Okay, so now the opposite is true. When you get into the sauna, and this is as you start to elevate your body in heat, you're going to start to do what? You're going to start to sweat. And what does sweat do? Sweat is there to excrete the toxins, that stuff we just talked about, and essentially attempt to cool yourself down. What else does it do? It is a symbol, or it is only happens when your heart rate is moving, when you elevate your heart rate, bringing into play your cardiovascular health. Now, what we've done is we've slowed ourselves down, we've constricted everything, and now we've opened everything back up. So now back to that cellular level, think about, instead of constricting that face cloth, think about opening like a tube back up in order to do what? Which is bring in more blood, bring in the oxygen, bring in the nutrients. So practicing hot and cold therapy is practicing longevity, is practicing moving the blood that is helping you live and survive and grow and improve and get healthy, practicing moving that blood around, practicing living longer. Does this make sense?
Yeah, no, and well said. So you're really emphasizing the circulatory system through this process, like the opening, closing of those blood vessels. And man, my head rings at the figures, and I don't know if people maybe don't have a good idea of, like, a 50% reduction in all cause mortality is astounding. It's a figure, and I read this and I heard it a while back, and we've talked about this, and then I'm reading on this and I'm like, wow, that's like, I see a lot of like little snippets of data as I go through some of these things, especially when it comes to like nutrition, health, movement. I've never seen that kind of figure. And so then I looked it up. I said, well, what other lifestyle interventions are even close to a reduction of 50% in all-cause mortality? And the only thing that actually, this is funny, the only thing that comes close is smoking cessation.
Really?
Yeah. If you're a smoker and you stop smoking, 50% chance of reducing all-cause mortality, and maybe there's a like 60 to 70% in lung cancer death or whatever it might be. But the next closest thing, I mean, we could probably guess, exercise, and that's at 25 to 35% reduction in all-cause mortality. So you mean to tell me that exercising only reduces our risk of, I mean, I say only, that's still an astounding figure, by the way, but comparatively only reduces all-cause mortality by 25 to 35%.
Well, that's interesting, because what the sauna is doing is essentially mimicking exercise.
Sure.
And the stat that we've engaged in is like 4 to 7 times a week.
Right.
So you're mimicking exercise 4 to 7 times a week. The second thing that is interesting to me about that is when you get this heat stress, right? So remember, what we're really doing is we're putting our body under stress, okay? And we're choosing to put our body under stress. And that's why it's very important that we remember, when you come to our labs, and there'll be signs all over the place, so you won't have to be that, remember that good. We're choosing this, right? This is our intention. We're coming to sit down, and we're coming to improve our recovery, increase our resilience, right? We're really working at this from a mental and physical, but we're choosing to put our body under stress. And heat is a stress on the body. The body's reaction to this stays, and I'll use quotation marks, stays with the body for up to 7 days. Okay, so when you're doing your exercise, and all of us have experienced this overexertion one day. Maybe you don't even work out, but you did something too much. That response can be 24 to 48 hours. There's something called DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, right? We all know you do leg day and then 2 days later you struggle to walk up and down the stairs, right? That's the stress staying with the body. Well, heat stress can stay with the body for up to 7 days. So what your body's essentially doing is working through the process of repairing itself. And as you're working through the process of repairing itself, it's building resilience. And building resilience against stress is, no brainer for all of us. That's going to be better. So yeah, it does make sense that only exercising, and I say only because start there, only exercising is 20 to 30%, but the actual heat stress saunaing is 50%.
Right. It's astounding. By the way, 63% reduction in cardiac death. So, I don't know. We should look at the Finnish population then and see what is their risk of heart disease like. It's got to be because you're right. It's a big cultural thing over there, and it's so fascinating. Yeah, there are a number of benefits. I think that even extend beyond exercise, just in the way that the body deals with the different kinds of stress. And we're just talking sauna here, not to mention the contrast, the ice baths too that we can engage in as well, which do actually very similar to your own point on the icing a sprain or something. It does a very similar kind of action within the body, kind of elicits this response of ooh, I gotta fix things here. And I know that we've talked about it before, but actually one of the responses that happens from this type of hormetic stress, the stress that is controlled and actually beneficial for us, is the upregulation of antioxidant production. And if you guys didn't pay attention during the deep nutrition podcast, but maybe you should go back and watch that because we talked a lot about antioxidants. But antioxidants repair our cells and repair everything within our body, including DNA, including mitochondria, including all these other very important minuscule kind of systems within the body. They repair that on an electron level. So the smallest level, these compounds are produced by the body, very, very powerful, and help reduce and neutralize the damaging compounds also found naturally within our body. Oxygen being one of them. It's just they call it oxidative stress for a reason. Oxidative stress is these, when we have these tiny kind of free radical molecules, they damage us on an electron level and leaves our cells essentially irreparable at that point. And when we have a high concentration of these reactive oxidation molecules, we have inflammation, we have damage, we have chronic disease. It's the essence of all disease, really. And I find that very interesting, right? You take, for example, a drinker, right? They're drinking a lot, they're alcoholic, and then they get cirrhosis and, whatever. That's from inflammation that happens in the liver because alcohol is processed in the liver. Alcohol being very damaging is producing, these small little free radicals, and these are causing inflammation to happen, damage to happen, and so on and so forth. This is how you get chronic disease. And they even have great theories, and I might have mentioned this on mental health, and they're thinking a lot of our mental health symptoms are actually a result of neural inflammation that happens in the brain that presents a little differently for people. So anyways, interesting stuff, but this cold and hot therapy produces this response that elicits much more antioxidant production. I found that fascinating.
Yeah, repair at the cellular level, right? And we feel it. We do feel it, right? You don't know what you're feeling. You're feeling this heart rate go up, heart rate go down, the cold. What we have to learn how to do is get past the initial fear, right? Get past the. It's funny that for some reason all the things that we seem to be engaging in, breath work, meditation, hot and cold therapy, so many people start with, I could never do that, right? I could never do that. Oh, I tried a cold shower one time and I hated it, right? It's accurate. It's real, right? It's putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. And think about how interesting it is that you can put yourself outside of your comfort zone by sitting. You're going to walk in, you're going to rinse off, because everybody that goes to our lab has to rinse off first. So we're clear. That's why we have an intentional rinse. All right, you're going to rinse off, and then you're going to sit down in a sauna, and you're going to allow your body to warm up. You're going to feel good as it warms up. There'll be music, and you can relax, and you can meditate or think or just sit for 30 minutes, 20 minutes. We're going to prescribe it. We have 3 prescriptions that you can engage in, which is our reset, which is essentially you just come in, rinse off, hop in the cold tub, and then that's your cold therapy. Then we have revive, which is you're going to come in, you're going to rinse off, you're going to go into our sauna, our infrared sauna, which there's some benefits there we can talk about in a second. You're going to do that for 15 to 20 minutes, depending upon your tolerance. You wipe off, get in the cold tub, do that for 30 seconds to 3 minutes, depending upon your tolerance. Get back out, go back in the sauna, warm up, and then go. That's all you really need. And then we have our reset, revive, and then we have our replenish, which is essentially 75 minutes. You're going to do rounds of that, right? Whatever feels good for you. 15 minutes in, 3 minutes out, into the tub, 15 minutes in, until your 75 minutes is up, and you're good to go. Now, there's benefit for sure. There's benefit for doing it multiple times in a short period of time. But ultimately, the science shows all you really need is you need less than 3 minutes in the cold and then 15 to 20 minutes in the hot. And that's going to do enough to your cardiovascular system. It's going to do enough to release all the toxins, bring everything down, bring your blood pressure back down, increase your ability to take on stress. Hermetic stress is the word you used?
Yeah, hormetic.
Hormetic, right? Yeah. So choosing a stress level and then repairing the cellular damage, and then you're out of there. What's so amazing, and the reason that I really want people to try this, is not just the physical benefit, but the mental benefit that you get.
Huge.
I mean, there are stats out there, and maybe we should talk a little bit about dopamine.
Yeah,
right?
please.
There are stats out there about dopamine increasing 250%. Right?
Yeah,
that is your pleasure molecule. That's the stuff that when you feel good, that's dopamine, right? And doing this is increasing your dopamine 250%. And I have some theories around it, right? It's you knew you did something hard, right? You chose to get in the tub and sit down and do this thing that was challenging to you. But there's some additional science-backed dopamine stuff. I think you articulated it to me well earlier. So you want to give me give everybody a little dopamine talk?
Sure, yeah, I would love to. Dopamine, so interesting, fairly new in the world of neuroscience, and I'm not a neuroscientist, although I would, maybe.
You play one night.
Maybe, yeah, I play a little bit of a neuroscientist, but no, nonetheless, it is super interesting. One thing that you mentioned is that you would get into these, the ice bath or the sauna, and that you would feel good. I think specifically mentioning that your body will feel good, because let's be honest, they are challenging. It's not exactly a walk in the park. It's not laying on couch scrolling TikTok, right? I mean, and this is the important thing for a lot of people, is that when people say, "Hey, I love this," like you and I, we love it. Like, we'll do this for fun, But it's not that it's completely enjoyable. Same thing with exercise. There's nothing inherently feel good there. It's not an actual pleasurable thing in that moment, although we'll talk about how that can actually start to grow. But the thing is that you're engaging in something challenging that the body then responds to in a positive way, physiologically positive, and then you feel that physiologic positivity after you're done, and then that's your sensation of, That's your kind of, top down, that they'll call it, where you say, oh, I like that. That was good. So dopamine is actually the molecule of anticipation. It's the molecule of, achievement, of motivation, essentially. So when we think like, hey, I'm feeling compelled to check my, Instagram, that feeling, that impulse feeling, like I'm gonna go check, that is dopamine. And even the mere thought of, ooh, let me go check and see if I've got anything, any likes or whatever, that little thought will actually release a little bit of dopamine, the anticipation of an action. And so the problem here is that in our brain, pain and pleasure are what they call co-located. So they actually happen in the same regions of the brain. And so they're very intertwined. And the essence here is that with pleasure comes pain. And we have all these very easy, pleasurable things that we can engage in on a daily basis. I mentioned like social media, but foods, sex, drugs, all of these things are pleasurable activities and immediately pleasurable too, right? You can check your social media and get that little, like whatever, that little buzz that happens there from an interaction. Uh, the problem is that you have to pay with pain. It's a given. It's a physiologic phenomenon that when you have pleasure, you do have pain that follows. The beautiful thing about hormetic stress is that you can pay for that. You can pay that pain up front, and in fact, the pleasure lasts longer when you do pay up front. Right? It's like when you, I suppose when you you take some drugs or something like that. It's like you're taking out a loan, and during that time, you smoking, drinking, whatever it is, during that time, you're paying interest on this loan. And it feels good at the moment to have all that money. But right when those effects wear off, right when the drug wears off, you're now stuck with the interest. And this is your essentially dopamine interest. And you have to pay back not only the dopamine that you gained from that, but you have to pay back more. And so this is why they say when you do drugs, any kind of drugs, any kind of like immediately pleasurable activity, you don't even return to your normal dopamine levels. You actually return below baseline. And so what does this feel like? It feels terrible. And this is the feeling of, that I don't feel like doing anything. I feel sad. I feel depressed. I feel anxious. I feel not great mentally. This is that feeling when dopamine gets below that baseline level. Are we following this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. This concept is great. I love the way you explained it. So go a little further with you can prepay.
Sure. So in the essence, and we'll call it like cheap dopamine, right? This is where we just do something very pleasurable. We get the pleasure immediately. This is cheap, and you pay for this. You pay your interest. When you prepay with pain, when you prepay with something challenging, you get a sustained release of dopamine afterwards. Think about it now. Like instead of going out and spending all your money that you had from this loan, now what you're doing is you're putting this money in a bank and you're gaining interest, right? And now this money lasts a little bit longer. And so what you do is you go and you do the ice bath that's challenging, right? You're in there for 3 minutes. The first minute is tough. I mean, we had this conversation the other day, and you talked about the pre-ice bath feeling, that like, oh, I kind of don't want to get in, but I know it's going to be good for me. That feeling right there is hard. And you say, well, I'm in control here. And you go and you do the plunge and you breathe through it, and it's fine. It's uncomfortable, but it's fine. You can tolerate that. Same thing with the sauna. You get to like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you're sweating, it's hot, it's like kind of a little hard to breathe. You're paying for that. You're paying some sort of discomfort, and what you're receiving is at the end of that discomfort, once that like physiologic stress is now gone, you then earn the dopamine. And they say that, and you mentioned this, especially after a sauna, after a ice plunge, both of those have a dopamine increase from baseline up to 200% for for 4 to 6 hours or something like this. It's many, many hours after. So contrasting that with that cheap dopamine, which your dopamine, your cheap kind of dopamine, elicitors or activities, your dopamine plunges immediately. Now you've prepaid up front, you've done the ice bath, you've done the sauna, your dopamine's high for many, many hours. And what does that mean? Now that means that you have the molecule of motivation. You have the molecule of doing more, of perpetuating this, hey, let me take on a challenge and let me do more of this. Let me do more good things. We all know that these like cheap dopamine things, inherently there's none of them that are good for us in the long term. We do them anyways, and this is the point of this conversation, not to say that you don't engage with that stuff. Of course you do, but having something where you can go in, like our labs, for example, or just, a sauna, ice bath, that you have at your house or something. If you can go in and you can say, I'm going to bear this discomfort, you actually set yourself up for feeling motivated in all areas of your life. And that's really powerful.
Yeah. Amazing. Well described.
Thanks.
And just so for everybody listening out there, we're not going to make it that difficult on you. Right? We want our intention is to really help you, feel comfortable while it's going on. There's music and lighting, and there'll be a community there. There'll be other people there. And we are offering, at least for the first 5 or 6 weeks, or maybe even longer, we're going to offer some guided sessions for people that want to get into this, want to try about, maybe somebody that's thought about it, and or people that are just listening now and saying, geez, I could use something like that. So we're going to offer some guided stuff, which I think will be very useful for everybody. So we talked a little bit about the body, and then we talked a little bit about the mind. One of the things that we haven't really talked about yet is the community of people that tend to do this stuff. All right. So the community of people that are not after chasing the fake dopamine, the community of people that are going for hormetic stress, they tend to be people that want to better themselves. So what we're trying to build here with our labs, and the goal here is for us to really support our community, is to build a community of people that are after this stuff, that are okay and understand that a little bit of suffering now is going to help their life, their community. And what I found from living in that type of community for the last 4 or 5 years is these people are great people. They're people you want to be around. They're honest. They're interesting. They're doing cool stuff. So don't disregard the community that you may or may not engage in when you come to our labs. And one of the really great things about our lab's location is that it is on the second floor of Millennium Fitness. And we were lucky enough to have Jason Caldas on, the owner of Millennium Fitness. And it's a great place to go. It's more than just a gym. I mean, it's got like a Shake Shack type, where you can go and you can have a shake. It's a CrossFit gym where you can go and meet people that are interested in being coached. It's next to Aligned Movement Yoga. It's a yoga studio where the people there are just amazing. Hot yoga, hot Pilates. When you think about hot yoga and hot Pilates, there's a group of people that are definitely into suffering, right? Because that's some hard stuff to do, yeah. Right? It shares a wall with our friend Sean Schubert, right? Muay Thai, people that are interested in learning how to defend themselves, right? Or learning the art or the sport of Muay Thai. Sure. These are all people that are right in the same building as our labs. And what Corey and I kind of identified was these are the people that we feel like we can help by bringing a way for them to recover with intention. So if you're out there, it's 155 Millennium Circle, and come try it, check it out, and don't be afraid to check out the places around it. Check out Millennium Fitness. Check out Aligned Movement Yoga. Check out why is Sean's Muay Thai
Red Seal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sean. Why? Check out Red Seal Martial Arts, right? They're there. They're there for you. This is a place where you can go and really do all of the things that you might be interested in your wellness journey.
Right.
So what other benefits we'll go back and forth because we got a
Sure.
couple more minutes here.
Yeah, sure.
I'd like to just list off some additional benefits that we know to be true. I'll start. Sleep. If you're having trouble sleeping, this is proven to improve your circadian rhythm, improve your ability to sleep deeper, more valuable sleep. And we've already covered all. You can extrapolate the reasons as to why that's valuable.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, definitely. There's immune system benefits too. We actually spoke to like the cardiovascular benefits here, and I'll just throw this out here that they've known for many years now that cardiorespiratory fitness, our cardiovascular system being very much intact and optimal is one of the best predictors of longevity. And so they've even done studies where they will have people of a normal weight category, normal BMI, versus people of like these higher weight categories, obese even, and they find that if they have the same cardiorespiratory fitness, they actually have the same mortality. So we hear all these things about health and whatnot, but a lot of our longevity boils down to cardiovascular fitness and how our cardiovascular system works. And so, when you're talking this like contrast, going into the hot, dilating, going into the cold, vasoconstricting, you're pumping your heart and then you're slowing it down, then you're pumping it, then you're slowing it down. This is training. It's the easiest cardiovascular training. I mean, I don't know about you, but I really dislike running, and and if I can get the same benefits from, something that we call it hard, it's hormetic stress, it's stress on the body. We call it that, but it's uncomfortable. But you're in your head if you think it's really really bad. It's not. It's not bad. It's a perception. We talk a lot about mindfulness and how our perception really does impact reality, and the perception that I can't jump into the cold water and I can't go into the sauna. It's just not really accurate, and anyone can do it, and anyone can do it actually for a good amount of time too. It's just a matter of what you believe, and you have limiting beliefs over what you can do. And so at a baseline, I mean, it's uncomfortable, but so are tight pants, and so everyone does that, so you can do it.
Yeah, so that you actually hit the next one for me, and it is limiting beliefs. All right, what is so interesting is that when you get into the cold water, it's essentially a forced meditation. Right, it's going to bring you to the present moment. You're very unlikely to be sitting in the cold water thinking about dinner. Right, you're going to be thinking about where you are in the present moment. And when you start to recognize that all you have to do is control your respiratory system, right? Extend your exhale, breathe. We went through this the other day, and the first minute is going to be where you feel that challenge. And I'm saying it on purpose because it is a minute. It's 1 minute of your entire day where you're going to feel a challenge. The second minute is going to be, okay, I've done this, still a little uncomfortable. Not a big fan, and I could get out. That's where the discipline comes in, right? So you go through the fight response. First you go through the flight response. You get in the cold water and you go, I should get out. It's cold. I'm not used to this and I don't like it. Then you go through the fight response. Okay, I have to sit here because I'm in charge, not my body, not my mind, but whatever this other thing is that's in here, I'm in charge. Then you get into the relaxed response. And that third minute, it's when the magic happens. It's when the cold shock proteins really engage. It's when you start to go to yourself, wow, I did something today. I did something that was challenging, and I was able to do it. I pushed past the limiting belief. And lucky for you, in our labs, we are plugging it again, you can just get right in the sauna, right? And we actually will have a hot tub for you too. So you can get right in the hot tub and just kind of warm up. Yeah. You don't have to by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I would encourage you not to. Just to let the body warm up naturally is a fun thing to learn about. But that's how this works. And it's in hundreds of people. I have been fortunate enough to have taught hundreds of people how to do this. The last part that I would like to share with everybody is we are going to be offering breath work and meditation workshops at our labs, because in the same way that people say to me all the time, "Oh, I could never do that," right? There's the same return I get when I say we should learn how to meditate. You should, understand what meditation is. I could never do that. I could never do that. So our labs is a place where you can go and you can learn how to do these things that benefit you fundamentally at the baseline for your longevity and your overall health. So that's my final plug for our lab, friends.
Yeah, no,
Today.
it's great. I'm so glad. I was even telling you earlier today. I'm going to be very excited with this resource because, yeah, most people don't have the challenge, and we're told that the challenge and the sitting through the discomfort is good for us. And there's all these like physiologic benefits and the neurologic benefits. So, speaking of like dopamine and everything, but there's also like psychologic benefits as well. You even mentioned it. Oh, wow, I did the hard thing, right? This does something to you over time. And this is why certain people become, high achievers, I think, in some ways, that they've done hard things over and over and over. And it's not that they're just like, was it masochists or anything. It's that they've recognized, wow, when I challenge myself and I overcome the challenge, and I do the hard thing, I do the thing that I don't really want to, it does something to me, and it repairs my sense of self that has been fractured from years and years and years of, negative self-talk and limiting beliefs and contextual circumstances that have like you really eaten away at whatever foundation of self that was there. And so, these little things do change you, and it's a small thing. And that's the beauty of it. It doesn't. You're not skydiving. You're not swimming with sharks. You're eliciting the same benefits, and psychological, physiologic, neurologic, through something quite simple. You're sitting. Like, what a luxury.
What a luxury. See, well, I feel like everybody's going to be lucky to have our labs in their neighborhood. And as we build this community, and especially if you're listening to this in other parts of the state of Massachusetts and you're interested in having an R Labs at one of your places, our goal is to build this community to 10 different R Labs in order to really spread this out for people.
Yeah,
So,
amazing.
well, thank you guys. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, my or our Instagram handle is down there. I will respond, of course, to at any point in time. And please make sure, if you like the stuff that we're talking about, like, share, tell your friends, and come stop by 155 Millennium Circle, Lakeville, Massachusetts.
Awesome. Thank you.